All right, so everybody, welcome to our Monday morning Grow Your Business session. This is our fourth session, I believe. Today we're going to focus on providing value to buyers and sellers. You know, to me, this is probably one of the best ways to generate referrals. When you talk to successful agents in this industry, 10 out of 10 times successful agents will tell you their biggest source of business is referrals. And to me, it's all about the experience you create for your buyers and sellers to generate referrals. One of the biggest things you hear now, with a lot of people is they're, unsatisfied with how their agent treated them, worked, did the job, whatever. So one of my simplest and easiest ways to really deliver this message is with a simple statement of under promise and over deliver. It's very simple. If you under promise and over deliver, you're going to create an exceptional experience every time. Century 21 corporate now, it's creating exceptional experiences for everyone is really their tagline now. And it's something I've been saying for a long time. I think that is how you really grow your business in this industry, is by creating something that's unique, that's different from everybody else. To me, it's one simple thing: work hard. So before I get started, with kind of giving you guys some suggestions from me on how to create an exceptional experience, I'd like to hear from several of you if what you've done to create an exceptional experience. What do you do that's different, that takes you over and above every other agent out there? So Sarah, Craig, Robin, when you step back in, if you want to give us any suggestions, anything you do.
I'm really big on immediate communication. Somebody calls me, even if I can't pick up the phone, I'll pull over, get right back to them, or send a quick text. Busy right now, call you in 5, that type of thing. I'm finding myself a lot with dealing with agents is they're not getting back to you. I've actually called to show 3 different properties where the agent never got back to me. I'm like, well, you don't want to sell, do you?
Yeah, that's the tough part.
Communication is the big thing.
Yeah, that's the struggle we all have in this industry, and I think, to kind of just branch off of that for a second, communication. The biggest thing I hear from buyers all the time, I never hear from my agent. I think that's the number one reason a buyer moves on from an agent to another agent, is I never hear from my agent. We hear that statement every single day, and it's so frustrating. I mean, it's so simple. The technology we've been given now makes it even easier than, when I started in the business. I started and there were pagers. You used to have to pull over to the side of the road and find a payphone and call people back. So it's very different. We have this technology. I mean, one of my favorite buttons on my phone is when someone's calling, if I'm in a meeting or whatever, it's, it pops up right on your iPhone, 3 response messages. So I always text people back. I'll call you back. I'm in a meeting, and then they text me back. No problem. No rush. Nothing urgent, and that's really a big part of it, is just a quick response. Even if it's a text response while you're in a meeting, that just shows that, okay, they acknowledged it. People just want to feel acknowledged. If they need a response right away, they're going to text you back and say, hey, Rob, it's an emergency. I need your help, whatever. But, that quick response is definitely one of the biggest ways to grow your business, is just simply by answering your calls and replying to your customers in a short time frame. So, I completely agree. Anybody else? We just had a few more. We had Christy and Paige jump on the call here. So we're just talking about providing value to buyers and sellers. As it is our biggest source of referrals. So would anybody else like to share how you provide more value to your buyers and sellers? Robin, come on, give me something.
I always used to, well, I don't sell as much as I used to in list, but I would make it a point every single Monday to reach out to my clients and, just ask them, if they needed anything or if we could get together for a coffee or whatever the case would be. But it was a weekly thing.
Yep.
And I still do that with the agents as well, Rob. So, I think it's important that we communicate on a consistent basis.
Right. Totally agree. So it's all about communication, and that's what we're getting here today. So let's talk a little bit of some ways, let's just really start with that and kind of branch off on that communication part here first. I think the communication is one of the biggest issues with client satisfaction today. It's communication. You talk to buyers, sellers, whoever, expired listings, we see it all, and I've seen it for many years. And every time it's the biggest reason is always communication. So, Robin made a great point, and it's something that I, want to talk about and had on my agenda for today was, communication, weekly communication. We're typically talking to our buyers and sellers, periodically throughout the week anyways. But, one thing that I teach in my Buffini trainings, in my Buffini class, is, communicating with buyers and sellers. And what you want to do is you want to designate one day a week for each, like maybe Mondays is your seller follow-up day, because Mondays is usually when you can kind of, talk about open houses from the weekend. Same thing with your buyers. If you need to separate the days, great, whatever works for you. But set time 2 days a week or 1 day a week to follow up with all your active buyers and sellers. Anybody who's out there actively looking, and you get a lot of those tire kickers now, and I think that's what makes the struggle with buyers a little bit more difficult. With the sellers, it's easy. We're in constant communication. They want to sell their house. They're going to answer every call from you because they think it's an offer. So, the communication with the seller, and this dialogue could be very simple. Just, hey, listen, it's Rob. I just wanted to touch base, say hello. We had the open house this weekend. Either it was great. We had a lot of people come through. We're waiting on offers. I talked to a few agents. Or, what? We didn't get anybody there. But you got to remember it's the 4th of July holiday. And, you just want to console them, comfort them, deal with the issues that they have. They're going to come back. Well, Rob, I'm a little concerned. Well, maybe we should talk about a price reduction, but having those calls, think about it in your own life. What do we all do? We all worry. We all sit there, and when you don't have a response, we play out methods in our head. We play all these situations in our head, and as a seller or, in this situation, they're thinking in their head, my house is never going to sell. I'm going to lose money. The longer I sit, it's going to make it worse. They're playing all these situations over in their head, just like we do. Do you ever have how many people on here have WebMD'd life? We all done it. We've all gone on WebMD, and by the time we're done with it, we're dead and buried, and before you know it, it was, a sinus infection. So, it's the same thing with a seller. They're sitting there and they're playing all these processes in their head of what might happen. And now by the time they're done, they're taking, a $250,000 loss on their house. Communicate. It's simple. That once a week call, even if you've talked to them once a week, let them know, hey, I make phone calls once a week. I constantly call my sellers once a week. That's important because that's going to make your customer talk about that to future friends and family about why they should use you to sell. Rob called me every single week to give me an update on my property. He was there for showings. He was there for the, open houses. That type of communication is so important, guys. So start to block 1 day a week to call all of your active buyers and active sellers. So, kind of continuing with the seller side here for a few minutes, a couple of ideas, one of the things that drives me nuts is, when we just throw a lockbox on a house. Now I understand lockboxes in this business, and they're great, because we can only be in one place at certain times. but don't be an agent that relies just on a lockbox, where they're opening the door every time and, you're calling, hey, someone's going to go to the house today at 2, someone's going to go at 4, and someone's going to go at 6. One of the things that sometimes gets you that higher commission is having accompanied showings. Even if you're using an agent in the office, try to offer that because, it's concerning to customers. You want to have that opportunity because now they see it as, number one, you're just putting a key on their house and letting people go in, which is kind of scary. But number two, when there's nobody there to really handle the questions, when that co-broke has a question or that buyer has a question, there's nobody there to answer it. So now, the problem is they're going to wait 2 hours till they get home and maybe call you, but they've already worked a solution in their head that may not always be the right answer. So try to accompany showings, try to be there for that customer, attend these open houses, even if it's an agent in the office that you're working with, a partner, whatever. Having that presence and support there is what makes you more valuable than a Redfin agent. So, some of the other things on sellers, there's a few things that we have, and I'm just going to share my screen now with me. All right. So, a couple things we have, the first is, our, what do we call these here? The listing reports through 21 Online. So 21 Online actually provides everybody listing stats where you can actually share your listing stats and what your traffic is with your sellers. So this is a great way to show your sellers that you're working for them. Shows them how many views they get on their homes, how many visitors are coming in each day, where they're coming from. This is newer data, and it just kind of shows you if they shared the data, how many leads were generated. So it just shows the customer that, hey, I'm getting that exposure. We'll just click here to view a seller's report. So this is what the seller receives. Ooh. So the seller will receive something like this every single week. And
I have a question.
Yes.
When you say the seller will receive that every week, will they receive that every week if we send it to them or set up a specific setting, or are they just automatically going to get that every week?
So you have to set it up inside of 21 Online. So if you go to 21 Online and you go to Golden Ruler by Listrak.
Yep.
You'll see a list of your properties there, and you'll be able to set it up right in there just by adding your seller's email, and you'll be able to select the frequency that you want it to go to them.
Okay, great. Thank you.
So this is a great way, guys, just to show your sellers that, hey, you're working for them. They're going to look at this and think you're doing the, this big project, tracking all this stuff. But all you're doing is sharing this data with them, and they love it. It's something so simple that I hear so many great reviews on. So, get in the habit of sending them this, and then use this as a piece during that, that weekly call that you offer them. When you pick up the phone and call them, hey, listen, did you get to check out the Golden Ruler I sent you this week with all the stats on your home? Yeah, that was great, Rob. It's great to see we're getting the views, but, it actually opens up the conversation because they might ask and say, well, we've had 1,350 people view it. How come we're really not getting any showing activities? Well, we can go into the fact that some of the things that we maybe know about the house, well, it's a little older. Maybe we should price it a little bit lower, whatever. You can use these as advantages to try to get your price reductions and adjustments on the home done as well. So any questions on that, guys? Okay. One other thing I want to throw out there that's a really nice tool to keep in your back pockets, guys, and this could be for a buyer or a seller, but it's the home warranty plan. This has been something that I've used, in transactions with agents, several times over the years, and it's really been a huge help in closing a deal. So, we're not going to go through and sell this whole thing now. I'm not going to break everything down for you. But what the home warranty plan effectively is just basically what it says. It's a warranty on your home, and it covers a lot of different things based on the package you select. But now this is a way that for a seller who has an older home to make yourself different from that brokers that you're competing with to get the listing. When you come in to get the listing, now instead of just coming in and offering the same thing, maybe you throw in this home warranty. Well, you know what, Mr. Seller, your home's a little older and dated. So one of the ways that I can help you get your home sold a little bit quicker is by giving buyers the satisfaction to know that they're in good hands after the transaction. Because what I like to do on older homes is I like to put a home warranty. This will give the buyers a full year. They'll be able to renew it afterwards. And it's going to cover everything in the home. It can cover the pool. It can cover the appliances. It can cover the central air conditioners unit. All these things. It's a nice touch to add to a seller. And all we're trying to do, guys, and this is the key, create an experience. If you create an exceptional experience throughout the whole transaction, that seller is going to do nothing but talk about how great you were to everybody they know. And now everybody they know is going to want to list their home with you because of how that seller raved about you. It's about creating that experience. It's the agents who drop the ball and lose the experience that get the bad word out afterwards. That's not good. Not good. So, by creating, let's kind of just go back, it's the communication, touching base with them once a week. It's providing them wow, that took a while to pop up. It's providing them the data. It's being available. It's being at the property, not just becoming virtual once you get the, okay, that you can list the property. Don't disappear after that. You need to be present, and I mentioned the simple line of, under promise, over deliver earlier. And to me, it's one of the most important things. And, just a couple other things that, can make you different is, helping them find the right people. While we're on the call here, we have Christy on the call here. Christy actually runs our vendor program. And, one of the great ways to do it is by having that vendor list with you. When you have a home, I've seen agents that have gone in and painted houses. The color in the house is like an ugly color and it's not going to show well. The agent shows up on a Saturday with a couple buckets of paint and here they are painting the walls with the clients. You have FHA, mortgage. You got paint chipping on the deck. I've seen agents over there scraping down paint off the houses and off the deck. It's the little things that make us better, guys. It's going over and above on every transaction. Maybe they need doorknobs changed, whatever. Offer that help. Be there to help them in every which way, because that is what's going to create the conversation. So, some agents look at it and say, well, that's not really my job. It's not my job to scrape the deck. It's not my job to go by there and mow that lawn for a vacant house for that client who lives down in Florida. It's not my job. I'll hire landscapers. Well, you know what? That agent who goes over there and cuts the lawn is going to make that customer talk about them, and they're going to get referrals. Create that experience. I'm not saying become a landscaper, but when that customer needs that little bit of help, jump in and help them. Does anybody else have any suggestions you like to throw out there? Working with sellers. We got a lot more people on the call now, so I'd love to hear some suggestions from agents.
Rob, I also used to offer, I do a home warranty almost every single time, but I have to get it at least at 5%.
Absolutely.
I also do a professional stager. I'll bring in a professional stager up to $300 and have them come through, and they actually do work for me, staging it, and then they'll give the seller more ideas as to what to do. So staging and home warranty are very, very important.
Yeah, that's a great thing. I completely missed is the staging. It definitely makes a huge difference. I mean, it usually, I don't know the stat off the top of my head, but I know it helps get, a higher, offer amount. You come in better at the, list to sale ratio. The staging is really making a difference when the house shows. I can tell you, I've been in some houses that you can't even move. You walk into the kitchen and you squeeze them by the kitchen table, and it creates an experience. So it's all about the experience. Anybody else? Any other suggestions from anybody else? We got a lot of people on the call now, so.
Yeah, I totally feel, like you said, with creating the experience, all of this stuff should be included with your initial meeting. This is what I can offer you, tell them about the warranty, tell them about staging, tell them about, we can bring in a landscaper, because, to me, that's showing you value. It's showing
Yeah.
tools that you have available.
Sure. Completely agree. Good stuff. All right. So let's switch to the other side now, and let's talk a little bit about buyers. I'll throw out there real quickly right now, while we're talking about it, the home warranty, it's also something great that, you can offer to buyers as well. They can pick it up, hey, listen, I offer this great program. So you can offer it to buyers or sellers. So to me, one of the best ways right now, buyers are pretty simple. They're hard to work with. Properties are tough to find. We're covering large areas. But to satisfy the buyer, it's very simple, guys. And this is where you see the biggest ball drop. And, I want to take a minute to really explore why buyers have become more difficult to, create an experience for. So, I can basically nail it down in one simple analogy that I recently heard at a conference, and it's the process of a buyer. The process of a buyer used to be consumer, agent, house. The process is now consumer, house, agent. So the way we work with buyers now versus in the past has changed dramatically. I don't think the listing experience has changed too much. Maybe the technology and the way we market the property, some of that has changed. But the way you work with a seller and the way you promote to a seller and the way you build that relationship with the seller, still very similar to all these years in real estate. We just have different tools we use now. And although we now have different tools that we work with buyers on as well, the experience is much different. Because we'll call it old school real estate, I guess. In old school real estate, a consumer would basically decide, okay, I think we want to buy a house, and they'd walk into their local office or call their local agent. You now did all the work. For those who don't know, MLS used to be just a big binder that MLS dropped off to the office once a week. There was no computers. There was no technology. So when someone wanted to buy a house, you had to go to your local real estate office. So when they come to the local real estate office, the concept was they're searching in probably one town, maybe two towns. 15-minute commutes to work. It was a small, easy target. We look at a buyer today. Buyers now, from the day they start looking for a home, typically take 12 to 24 months before they communicate with an agent. 12 to 24 months. That's crazy. Because at the beginning, when they thought about buying a home, they were there within a couple days. Because that agent had to do everything for them. That agent had to know the area. That agent had to know everything in town, whether it was churches, restaurants, schools, whatever was important to that client, you had to know. And that's why we only covered one or two towns as an old school agent. Flash forward to today, if I'm working as an agent out of Revere, I'm driving to Worcester or New Hampshire to sell a deal if that's what it takes. So, the concept is very different. But to me, it's all about communication, even when they're not responding. So, we really need to realize that the buyer has really changed. And, at the end of the day, the thing that still holds strong is they still want a buyer's agent. They still want to work with you. the number one and most important trait to a buyer and a seller is relationship. So the buyer still wants you. It's just the process of when they contact you is very, very different. So one of the best ways to build your relationship and support your buyer is by using our Zap system. You know, the second important trait next to relationship is technology. Buyers and sellers want to see you embracing technology and makes them feel more comfortable. And with Zap, and we're not doing a Zap class here, Tim's going to kind of click through it as we're talking here, but with Zap, you're giving them that customer satisfaction. You're giving them everything they want. You know, I've done a lot of research on, you know, what customers want online. You know, so it comes to complete data. The biggest thing is photos, you know, so I'll click on this listing here, you know, and you'll just see the size of the photos. I'm sure you've all heard the same thing. Why do you go to Zillow? I like the photos. You know, I get that all the time, and I'm just, you know, it's crazy. You know, the data stinks, but at least you get photos, you know, hey, great, good for you. So, you know, we're giving them that quality. You know, you're giving them all the data they need. You're giving them value with the walk score in here. You know, and this is why I recommend, you know, checking out my Zap series that we've posted, you know, because I take you through a full buyer's consultation in there using this system, but giving them tools like a, you know, like this here with the walk score, you know, with the data. They're not leaving your website now. And at least that is half the battle. You know, if you can keep them on your website, they're exposed to you. So when they do decide to go see a property, they're clicking request to show you, and that's going right to you. The other thing we have with tied in with this is the mobile app. You know, 91% of consumers search on their cell phone or tablet devices. So by giving them that mobile app, you're empowering them to carry you around with them everywhere. You're giving them a technology that can compete with a Realtor.com or Zillow app. You're giving them the data. You're giving them all this information, and that's great. And then what you have the ability to do is to track everything on your back end of your dashboard. You know, to be able to track that and stay in communication is key. You know, and that's the big important thing, is creating that communication. And that's what Zap's going to allow you to do with the Zap score, to understand where the customer's at. You now have to take data, break it down, and understand how to communicate with them. And that's the great thing about Zap.
Rob?
Yes.
I'm having a bit of an issue with the mobile app.
Okay.
I have a client, a buyer, that is using the mobile app, and he keeps getting kicked to different agents. Like, he'll open up the app and some other agent is on, you know, on the main page.
Yeah,
Okay.
I had that too.
And it's
Okay.
like, wait a minute. You know, so if they click on that, they're going to that agent.
Right. So let me ask you guys a couple questions. Do you have them registered on your website?
Yes.
Okay. Are they
That's how
signed?
they got the app.
Are they signed in to the mobile app with the username that you provided them through your website?
Yeah, because it was all done through the website.
But when they open up the mobile app, are they signing in on the mobile app?
They should be, yeah. I mean,
Check
I talked to him. He said he signed in.
Okay. So the other thing is just shoot me an email with the areas. Maybe we need to expand your areas. Maybe they're going outside of the area that maybe you know, were set up in Zap with. So I could try expanding the area. If you just shoot me a quick email, I'll expand your territory.
All right.
And widen it up so that you should pop up in that territory. That could be the issue.
Yeah, okay.
So I heard someone else jump in there too. So whoever else jumped in there, same thing. Feel free to shoot me an email just with what's going on, and I'll take a look at your territory and try expanding your territory.
Okay.
But with the mobile app, guys, you always want to make sure that the customer is signing in with the email that you provided them. And you can find that. I'm right in here. So right here, you see consumer login. You want to make sure that they're signing in with this email address. That's key. That is the key to the app, is you do want to make sure that they are signing into the app, because it happens to us all where we sign in and, then we sign out, or the app gets deleted. I reinstall it. I have to sign in again. Just make sure that they're signing in on the app. That's an important part of it. If not, they will find other agents, because if they're not signed in, it loses its history and takes you off and assigns somebody else. So you do want to make sure they sign in. But that technology, back to the buyer side here, guys, that technology is so important in building that relationship, because now what you have the ability to do within Zap is to be able to log into your Zap page and look at what they're doing. I could see Rob logged into my mobile app one time this week, one time, 2 times, 5 times, 23. Logged into my website, viewed home detail pages. I can see how active he is. But then the great part is we're actually going to take a look at the insights of the customer. The average price, the average bedroom, bath, square footage, style. But this here, to me, is really the key. This is probably the best graph to really decipher where your clients are at. So to really break this down, explain this real quick, when we look at a customer, right now, the average commute to work for a consumer in Massachusetts is 1 hour and 15 minutes. So that means 1 hour and 15 minutes to work and 1 hour and 15 minutes home. We're doing a 2.5-hour commute every day on average. Ugh. But we look back to 2000, the average commute was 15 minutes to work and 15 minutes home. So what's changed is where we live. Prices have driven us to wider markets. We've had to adapt. What we need to look at is when a consumer starts to search and decide to buy a home, let's just say, for example, their home base is where they work. They work in downtown Boston. So now I want to commute, let's just stick with the average, 1 hour and 15 minutes to work. I don't want to drive more than 1 hour and 15 minutes. That's the most I'll drive. Okay. Well, thinking from downtown Boston, I could be looking as far north as southern New Hampshire. I could be looking as far west as, the Leominster, Worcester area. I could be looking as far south as the Cape. I can honestly tell you, I was up in Maine. I can't believe how many people actually commute from southern Maine down to Boston regularly. So the key is these consumers go out, and with the power of the internet versus the old books in MLS, which we controlled those books. We do not control the internet. So the customer can do all that research that you used to have to do for them. I mean, I open up a property detail on my page and look, I see all the local schools. And then I can click on the school and learn more about that school. This is the day and age we live in. So the customer does all that research. So what I can do now is I can kind of look. Well, 26.5% of Rob's searches in Woburn, Methuen, Winthrop, Saugus. So I see where Rob's looking. Well, 67.6 of his search is done in Saugus, Mass. Well, Rob's probably pretty interested in Saugus, and it looks like he's pretty interested in Woburn. So now I have the ability to hone in. As you see the customer search radius start to shrink, it goes from a conversation of, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, I'm here if you need anything. Anything you need, I'm always here. We don't want to be too pushy because they want to do their research. They want to search the web. They want to search the town. Our biggest competitor today, to me, in this industry, is Google. Google makes doing our jobs much easier, but much more difficult because we're not needed. So, when we look at that, what we have the ability to do is, as they hone in on a specific area, we now start to watch that area. And before they even have a chance, we start to get them listings over right away. Hey, I noticed you've been really focused on Woburn. I just saw this listing come on about an hour ago. I wanted to get it over to you, Rob, to take a look at. I think it's perfect for you. We can now know what the customer wants with the analytics here. Big brother on steroids.
I like seeing what they're saving too. Gives me a better insight of what they're looking for.
Exactly. And
Sometimes
that's
they don't tell you things, and you go, "Oh, wait a minute! I didn't know they wanted that third bathroom." You know.
right. And that's another great suggestion, is taking a look at homes they saved. So as you scroll down, you can actually see their search activity. So you can see the homes they've recently viewed, searches they've saved, homes they've saved. So I can go look at what homes Rob saved and at least get an idea, of what he's looking at. And I can click on the listing and go deeper into it. So one of the other things I want to talk about, working with buyers, is our listing alerts. So right now on the call, we've got 8. I'd like to hear from you guys real quick. I'd like to hear what everybody is offering for your MLS alerts. Are you guys using MLS Pin or Naren, or are you using Zap?
I use MLS.
Okay. Anybody else?
I use that more.
Okay. So one of the issues with the MLS, when we set them up with MLS searches, this is what they're getting. So when your buyers are searching the MLS or searching online, they're going to sites like Zillow, Realtor.com, Redfin, hopefully your site. Hopefully they're sticking with your site. But when we set them up with the MLS alerts, this is what they land on. It's gross. It's boring. There's no data. The consumers want data. So one of the best ways to get your consumer to stay with you is to not send them to the MLS every time. Because what's happening is, and I did a survey and a study, and it focused on 10 buyers. Out of 10 buyers, all 10 buyers were provided MLS alerts by their agent. All 10 received that data. 0 out of the 10 buyers actually reviewed that data online at MLS Pin. They did one of 4 things: Zillow, Realtor, Redfin, Google. They would actually sit here, take the MLS number or the address, copy and paste that into Google, hit search, and click the first link that came up before they go to your website, before they go to MLS to view that data.
And sometimes what I'll do is I'll actually send links to the properties and emails, so it links them directly to my webpage.
Great. That's a great strategy, because you want to be taking them to this. So instead of landing on this, you're providing your customers all this data. You're giving them the Zestimate. You're giving them the multiple photos. You're giving them virtual tours, open house data. You're giving them the walk score, all the data from MLS, school district info, price history, mortgage calculator. There's nothing that you're missing. And then the best feature is you tell your customer when they want to go see a property, simply hit request a showing, and I'm going to jump on that and take care of it for you. It's direct communication between you and the consumer. This gives you a lot of leverage, because now what you're doing is, how many times, I'm sure you all have situations out there where you've worked with a buyer and you've worked hard with a buyer, and they go on Zillow, they hit request a showing, they don't tell you because they don't think they're doing anything wrong. They show up at the property, they love the property. The agent there suckers them in and tells them to write an offer, and you lost the deal. It's happened. We all know it's happened. So we need to do everything we can to prevent our clients from going to other agents. And it's a mistake by them. They don't understand it. But how do we avoid that? It's by driving them to the data that they want. Because like I said before, these buyers now take 12 to 24 months before they even make an offer. But until they make an offer, they're not talking with you very much because they do their research. Any questions on that, everyone? Okay. So that is really some of the basic ways to communicate with buyers and sellers to create a better source of referrals. It's all about creating that experience for your customers. It's about getting out there communicating. And I think the communication is the biggest part. You know, even from sellers and buyers, and, you know, I typically get the frustrated buyers and sellers that call me. You know, I see all the great surveys that come in about everybody's job, but, you know, very rarely does a customer usually call and say, hey, I just want to call and tell you how great this agent is. It's great to get that call. But usually the calls I get are frustrated buyers and frustrated sellers who are frustrated with their agent. And the biggest reason typically is lack of communication. You know, it's something so simple, everyone. You know, and I think the communication now is so easy. You know, it used to be so much more difficult to communicate because we didn't have these. We didn't have a cell phone that you could be driving around, you know. So instead of listening to Kiss 108 or sports radio, whatever you listen to during the day, you shut it off for 10 minutes and you would call a few clients. And now we don't even have to kill anybody while we're driving because we have these great Bluetooth cars. You know, it's very simple to make these communications. And, you know, next week, our big topic next week is time blocking. And that's going to kind of help us cover some of this to get this strategized because, you know, with a CRM, and that's what we're going to really dive into with time blocking is really focusing on how to use this stuff. But communicate with these people. Time block to call your buyers and sellers once a week. Communicate with them. The communication is then going to make your consumers talk more about you to their friends and family. You know, when you go out, take out yourself out of the business. You know, when you go out with friends and family, don't people rave about great experiences, whether it's realtors or the grocery store or an airlines or a hotel or whatever service industry they're going to? Don't people always rave about great experiences and really, pardon my language, I'm going to use a bad word here, bitch about bad experiences? But they never talk about the ones that just kind of level off. It was good. No, the agent was good. They sold my house. Doesn't make them talk. Doesn't make them go out and preach about you. You need to create an experience that makes them go out and cry from the rooftops, Rob D'Amico is the best agent in all of real estate. Go list your house with him. Create the experience to make them do that. That's the key to this whole situation, is to create that experience for your buyers or your sellers to drive them out and spend the time with them. And it's all about spending the time. Because with today's day and age, with technology, we've gotten so digitally reliant that, you know, we're communicating through Facebook. Pick up the phone. The client wants to hear from you. Utilize the technology, embrace the technology, but also remain, I hate using this word, but old school, because I don't think it's old school. I think it's every school. Communicate with the customers. Pick up the phone and call them once a week. Offer them these other tools. Utilize these great tools that we have here at Century 21 Northeast. We give a lot of great tools. Tie them in with your business. Take some time this week to really understand all of the tools that are at your fingertips so you understand when to pull that sword out of your bag. You know, when you walk into an old house and it's dated, and you walk in and you see, well, man, this is going to need some work eventually. Have that home warranty ready in your bag to pull out. When you walk into that home that's cluttered and it's just really, you know, not laid out very well, have that stager ready to go. Offer the services. You have a lot of value. Be prepared. Understand the tools that are at your fingertips, and don't stop communicating, guys. Any questions?
Good stuff, Rob.
Cool. Well, it's Monday morning. I don't think anybody's had their coffee yet. Hopefully you guys had a nice break over the 4th of July, and, Robin's got hers there, I see. But, guys, please, any comments, any questions, feel free to jump in at any time.
I'm actually looking for a good home inspector down in my area. Do we have somebody that works with the Rainham office on a regular basis?
Well, Christy, do we have any home inspectors in our program right now?
I don't have anybody down in the Rainham area. No, we've been working on some home inspectors, but they're actually kind of hard to get in. So I would say probably ask someone from your office or put it up on the Facebook group and ask them.
All right. Thanks,
Yeah,
Christy.
Craig, are you part of our internal Facebook group?
Yes, I am.
All right, great. So, guys, just real quickly, a little off topic here, but while we got everybody on the call here, we have an internal Facebook group, just for our agents. If you're not part of it, let me know. We'll get you on it right away. We send out the invites, the groups. It's on your welcome package. We blast it everywhere. But it's a great way to communicate with the agents in the company for anything like the question Craig just asked, who's a good home inspector, to questions you have on a home, to maybe some homes you need to help sell or something you have coming soon. This is just a big internal chat board for all of our agents. So, please take advantage, jump in at any time and check this out, guys. If you're not part of it, let me know. Let's get you on it. We want to get every agent on this group because we do a lot of communication through here, and it seems it's a great way to get responses. So with that being said, does anybody have anything else?
Can you add me to that Facebook group?
Absolutely, Sarah.
Thank you.
All right. If that's it, guys, have a great week, everybody. We'll be back here next week. Like I said, next week's topic will be focused on time management, time blocking. It's a huge struggle I've had in the past that I've gotten much better at. So I'd love to share some stuff with you guys. So I look forward to chatting with everybody next Monday morning. Have a great week, everybody. And if you need anything, I'm always here for you.
Thanks, Rob.
Are you heading down to Rainham this week?